You don't need a variety of fancy putty exercises. You just need one to fix this root problem. Here are the top 20 putty exercises that you should avoid if you have hand arthritis. And the reason I believe you should avoid these is because they feed into the muscle imbalance that is the root problem of hand arthritis. And to say it really simply, you've got muscles in your palm here that help to close your fist, and then you've got muscles that bend the fingertips. And most of these exercises are very focused on bending your fingertips and not your palm. And it's the palm muscles that are the weakest in people that have hand arthritis, and that's what needs to get stronger. And if you find that you're using your fingertips more, you're feeding into the imbalance. Let me show you what I mean. Let's do the first exercise. The first exercise that you commonly get shown by somebody who's teaching you to use a putty for hand exercises is they're just squeezing the heck out of the ball. They call it a power grip sometimes. And you're just making it back into a ball, and then you're just squeezing it as much as possible. And you can see here, my fingers are just curling into the putty, which means it's a finger-dominated motion. Especially if you already have hand arthritis, that means you've got that imbalance and you're using your fingers too much already. So if you're just strengthening your fingers even more, over time, this is going to worsen it. It doesn't always worsen it right away. Sometimes it does. Sometimes people have pain immediately when they're doing a clutch type exercise like this, but other times they'll be able to tolerate it for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, and then the pain starts to get worse in the arthritis in your hand. Another version, the second exercise here, is they'll show you to squeeze without your thumb, just to emphasize the fingers. They'll call this a full grip, not a power grip, because power grip is you include your thumb to get an added force. And you're just squeezing with your fingers rather than with your palm. Next, we'll do a ball roll. This is a very common exercise that they'll have you do is get on a table and move the putty around like this so that you make a ball. And you can see my fingers are open here. I'm not really using my palm muscles much. My palm's just staying flat, and it's a lot of arm motion. This kind of doesn't do a whole lot for the imbalance. It's more so just big arm motions, holding your fingers open like this. The muscles that hold your fingers open run up into the forearm, and they cross all the joints here, and they can put some bad pressures through the joints of your fingers, and that can contribute to hand arthritis. After the ball roll, you have the hot dog roll. You roll it forward and back like this, and very similar to the ball roll, you're keeping your fingers open, lots of arm motion, but this tends to set up other exercises you'll do with the putty because now you have a hot dog shape out of the putty. Shaping the putty like this is used for so many other exercises. A common one is going to be scissors with your fingers. You're just trying to bring your fingers together. You might use different fingers, and you're just working on bringing your fingers together. That uses lumbrical muscles, which are they are palm muscles, but they're not used in a normal way. You typically don't need a ton of strength bringing your fingers together. The next exercise is a thumb scissor. So you put it between your thumb and your index finger, and you're just bringing your thumb towards your hand. And same thing, you're not doing that a whole lot. Most things that you do, you're grabbing and squeezing and holding, not bringing your fingers together and apart. So it kind of doesn't translate into everyday motions as well. Another use of the hot dog is to make a donut shape with it. So you just fold it over, bring the ends together. You got yourself a donut now. And then you put your fingers in there and you're spreading your fingers apart against the resistance of the putty. And obviously you're using your finger extensors, not good. You're going to be feeding into the muscle imbalance because those tendons from the finger extensors run over your wrist into the back of your hand, and to the fingertips, they're putting bad pressure on the joints. Another version of the finger spread is they'll have you flatten it out, kind of like a sheet of paper, like a tortilla as we say in El Paso, and then you just spread it over your fingers, and then you open it up that way. And it's thinner, so there's a little less resistance. That might be easier for some people, but I'm not a fan. I think we need to be doing palm exercises rather than finger extension exercises. Next up, you get your hot dog out again, and then you could do a pinch. This is a very common one where you just pinch the putty, and you'll use your index finger to thumb, then middle finger to thumb. You might go down the line here, ring finger to thumb, pinky finger to thumb, and you just keep going just like that, bending your fingers tip to tip. Another version of this would be a lumbrical pinch, meaning you're keeping your fingers straight. Another one is Another name for this is a flat pinch. So instead of tip to tip, you're going thumb pad to finger pad, and you're keeping this finger straight. And when you go to the other fingers, you're trying to keep those straight as well. So you're doing this. Instead of curling your fingers, you're keeping them straight, thinking about bringing your pads to each other, and you're working out slightly different muscles, but you're still using a lot of finger muscles and not working out the palm muscles. And if you do these exercises, I encourage you to test this out for yourself. Do a bit of the exercise to see where your muscles get tired. And if it's not your palm, you're not helping your hand arthritis problem. And I think you should be avoiding that exercise. You need to tire out your palm. The next one is you make a hot dog shape again. I'll just roll it real quick. Then turn it into a donut. And then you're gonna put your finger inside, like in a bent position, in a hooked position. And then you straighten out against the resistance of the donut. And you kind of have to reshape it every single time, shape it around your finger in a hook position, and then straighten it out against the resistance. Also very finger driven. Next up, we have kind of the reverse of that, where you're clawing into the putty like so, and you might use a different finger, just kind of flatten it out, but still leave some thickness to it. Claw into it, very finger driven, just about no palm activity here, all finger. And then you can do the reverse claw. People usually do this one with all fingers at the same time, where they spread them all out like this. You can see all my knuckles bend oddly, because that's not the best thing for your fingers. You hardly ever have to do that. And then you can have the normal claw, or full hand claw, where you're spreading this out a good amount, and then you're bringing it all together with your palm flat, meaning you're not using your palm much, and trying to pull the putty in with your fingertips. There's some resistance there, obviously. I can't do that very fast, but it's so finger driven, it's feeding into the imbalance. Next, we have the pinch twist. So you get a loose shape like this, and then you're pinching and twisting, pinching and twisting, pinching and twisting. You can see it's more twist motion than anything. There's a little bit of palm activation now, but it's heavy on this grip, like a key grip. Like if you put a key into a lock and turn it, that's kind of what they're trying to simulate here, is a pinch and twist. The next one is a putty break or a putty snap. And so what you do here is you kind of flatten it out some, and then you quickly pull apart to where you get flat edges that snap. If you don't do this fast enough, then you get a taffy or stretchy like thing that happens, and it goops out like that. And the idea is to instead get it to snap and have a clean break. It's kind of fun to do, but you have to be quick. But again, this is using your fingers, unless you're conscious about using your palm muscles while doing this one. Some people will guide you to do wrist extension exercises, and the way this one works is you hold a section of the putty in one hand and leave kind of like a knob or a handle on the other end, and then you're gripping the putty and then pulling into extension. Gripping the putty and then moving your wrist up into extension. Then to do flexion, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you're bending your wrist over this way and pulling this way. Handle and then pull it towards you. And the idea is to flex your wrist or extend your wrist in the other one. Near the end here, next we have thumb to the base of the finger. And so you put the glob of putty there, and then you're digging your thumb through the putty to get to the base of each finger. So you go to your index finger, then your middle finger, ring, and pinky finger. And so you're just digging that thumb in to the base of each finger. Now this one does kind of get your palm muscles working, so I actually don't mind this one. But there's some better exercises I'll show you. Stay tuned to the end of the video, and I'll show you exactly what you should be doing. Then the last one's gonna be the 3-jaw chuck pinch. And what this one is basically a pen hold. So just like you would be holding a pen, except you're squeezing, because you're putting your fingers in this position, but you're squeezing through the putty to do that pinch, because that's a common position that we have to move our hands to be able to grab things like pens and other instruments, utensils, those kinds of things. Now, all those exercises, you can see most of them are finger focused, but that feeds into the root problem of hand arthritis. And what we need to be doing instead is strengthening our palm muscles. So what I would encourage you to do with the putty instead is make it into a ball, put it into your palm, and don't use your fingers, because you don't want to get those muscles stronger. Instead, I'm going to just put my finger here for stability. Close your palm through the putty as much as you can, trying to keep your fingers relatively loose. It's hard to keep your fingers completely relaxed. They kind of want to straighten out or bend some, but what you just want to avoid is forcefully extending your fingers or forcefully closing your fingers, that power grip, that first exercise that I showed you. Keep them as relaxed as possible. And what you'll find by doing this, by getting it to close all the way, after a few reps, doesn't take much, 3 to 5 reps, some people 1 or 2 reps, you start feeling tired in your palm. These muscles right here that create the outsides of the valley, the crease in the middle of your palm, start to get fatigued, and that's what needs to get stronger on a consistent basis. You don't need a variety of fancy putty exercises. You just need one to fix this root problem. And the more tired you can get your palm muscles, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Now, this is just one exercise for the palm out of many. I've got a bunch here on YouTube. You can check out the link to the playlist for hand arthritis in the description. But I've also got down there a link to the hand arthritis recovery program. And in that program, I walk you through my entire treatment approach for fixing hand arthritis at the root of the problem so that you can get back to doing the things that you love without worry that you're making your hand arthritis worse. There's just one putty exercise in there and you can guess what it is. If you want a more in-depth explanation about the root muscle imbalance I'm talking about, check out this video right here. It's called The Secret Cause of Hand Arthritis That No One's Talking About.